Zone Monday evening as we have a lot to unpack. And I know we just wrapped up Sunday NFL and we got Monday night double hitter going on tonight. But I want to talk about a reaction to a fellow rookie getting WNBA Rookie of the Year. It's no secret that I end up in some of these chat rooms and I look at some of the comments. And y'all know the old acronym SMH, which simply stands for shaking my head. Sometimes I have to shake my head at the comments of what I would deem as very moronic. Some I would have to deem as very racially motivated. And it could be driven by the media. So as I look at this report here, I want y'all to key in on what Angel Reese's reaction was to Catlin Clark winning WNBA Rookie of the Year award. Now, I'm going to tell you give the credit of who is responsible for this report. And I even want you to listen to some of his words as well, too. And you'll see what I say. Sometimes this stuff is media driven. I believe some was driven even during the Larry Bird, Magic Johnson era. Only thing is we didn't have social media the way we have, and some of these keyboard warriors, their fingers need to develop keyboard cramp. But Angel Reese reacts to Catlin Clark winning WNBA Rookie of the Year. And the first thing that pops out, was this a response to Clark earning the league's top first-year award? ? Indiana Fever star Catlin Clark earned the WNBA's Rookie of the Year honor on Sunday, hours before her team fell to the Connecticut Sun in the first game of their playoff series. Clark, who started Iowa as college basketball's all-time leading scorer, set the WNBA new single-game assist record, rookie scoring record, and the rookie three-point record in leading the Fever to the playoffs. Angel Reese, one of Clark's rookie rivals who received a fourth-place vote in the MVP race, did not trump Indiana's best player for top rookie billing. In the moments following WNBA's award announcements, Reese wrote a message on her personal social media profile, but didn't directly mention it was about Clark or the vote. My question is, did she have to mention anything about it? Woke up again, a very blessed girl, a very happy girl, Reese wrote Sunday afternoon. Clark, previously silenced by the rivalry discourse between herself and the Chicago Sky Star, saying she's had enough of the supposed animosity narrative. Y'all better underline that. All those of you who are going back and forth, making this about color and whatever else to spew your hate, let me give this to you again. Clark previously silenced the rivalry discourse between herself and the Chicago Sky Star, saying she's had enough of the supposed animosity narrative. Something tells me that even Clark is more mature than the people that are in the chat rooms going back and forth. I'm pretty sure the only people that view this as a rivalry is all of you. Clark so sensitively told reporters, "Like, to us, it's just a game of basketball. Not who's black, not who's white. Basketball. Last I checked, basketball is a global game. played in America, played in Argentina, played in China, played in Russia, played in Africa, wherever. You saw the Olympics, France, Brazil. I'm pretty sure those other countries that I mentioned, it's not about color. It's a basketball game. The article goes on. Reese countered by saying the rivalry is merely a media creation. Do I need to say that again? And yes, I'm in radio. I'm a part-time on-air radio host, co-host. I even host my own podcast. I have 2 of them to be exact. But this right here makes a lot of sense. Reese countered by saying the rivalry is merely a media creation, and she believes the ferocity shown between the 2 players is simply due to competition. Sometimes competition brings out stuff in you that normally otherwise, on an everyday basis, it's not there. I can't vouch, but I'm pretty sure that when Indiana and Chicago hook up on the court, and if there's a layover, I'm pretty sure they might all end up meeting up somewhere that we don't know about, that somebody haven't been able to get and capture them on their phone. Like, hey, I seen Angel Reese and Catlin Clark hanging out at such and such a bar after the game, sharing a laugh. I'm pretty sure that might have even happened a time or 2. But no, we don't want to see that. We want to stir something that's not even there to stir. She says, for me, I don't think people realize, and I believe it's not personal, Reese said. I think people just take it like we hate each other. Me and Catlin Clark don't hate each other. I want everybody to understand that. It's just a super competitive game. I just wish people would realize that. Once I get between those lines, there's no friends. We're not buddies. I'm going to talk trash to you. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get in your head the whole game. But after the game, we can kick it. I don't think people really realize that. Angel Reese, can I say, I must agree. I don't think people get that either. Clark previously said she regrets how her on-court battles with Reese became a distraction during consecutive deep runs to the national championship game, and how it took away from stellar seasons at Iowa the past couple of years prior to both players becoming first-round WNBA draft picks. The 2022-23 women's basketball season ended with a heated conference. Really? Y'all remember this writer who wrote this? He said, with a heated confrontation between Reese and Clark near the end of the national championship game, the first of consecutive losses by Iowa in the final game. First of all, let me address this writer. Do you know what a heated confrontation is? Once again, this writer's name is Brad Crawford. Yes, I'm name dropping. Do you know what a heated confrontation is? A heated confrontation is what went down between South Carolina and LSU women's basketball game. That was a heated confrontation. A heated confrontation is 2 players nose to nose and have to be separated by officials and players. That's a heated confrontation. Angel Reese throwing up the "you can't see me" John Cena hand gesture, that's not a heated confrontation. Angel Reese pointing out the fact that, hey, I got a ring, that's not a heated confrontation. Can I also say this? There were those in the media that labeled Angel Reese as a, right, those kind of a 5-letter word. It rhymes with witch. Anyway, The 2022-23 women's basketball season, I can't believe I'm reading this again, ended with a heated confrontation between Reese and Clark near the end of the national championship game, the first of consecutive losses by Iowa in the final game. Both players said there was no ill will prior to this season's long-awaited rematch showdown. In the Elite Eight that drew record viewership, but it remained a major storyline. I had to share that story to let those of you who are listening know. If these two players are saying that there's no animosity, there's nothing personal against them, why are we making it personal? Why are we making it a black and white issue? Why are we making it about race? Why come we just can't follow their sentiment and let it be about basketball? Think about the time when Larry Bird and Magic Johnson came into the league. They pretty much put that league on their back and carried it. Then Michael Jordan came along. But I want to focus more on Bird and Magic, Boston and LA. And Boston has been deemed as having their share of racism. So some have said. LA, Showtime, everybody's welcome. Boston represents the blue-collar type workers. The LA Lakers, Showtime, represent the glamour and glitz. Two different contrasting styles, Magic and Bird, were the epitome of both of their teams. Of course, Bird went down in history as one of the best trash talkers in all of NBA. He would say what he was going to do, tell you where he was going to do it from, and tell you there's nothing you could do about it. His major confrontation was with Dr. J when he told Dr. J he was past his time. But I think at the end of the day, even him and Doc had mutual respect for each other. At the same token, I believe there's a mutual respect between Angel Reese and Catlin Clark. We who be in these chat rooms, we have to stop making it about more than what it is. And let it only be about basketball. Sit back, watch these two ladies put this league on their back and carry it to new heights and make way for the next round. In closing, we say thank you to the Diana Taurasi's, Maya Moore, in case some of y'all have forgotten about her, Cheryl Swoops, who always seems to be under fire without even saying anything derogatory. She just doesn't say what the mainstream Catlin Clark fans want her to say. But she has yet to slam this girl verbally. Lynette Woodard, Rebecca Lobo, Nancy Lieberman, the list goes on. Never forget those who paved the way for these young and up and coming stars who we are watching, named Angel Reese, Catlin Clark, Camila Cardosa, Asia Wilson, and the list goes on. Not about color, not about race, but it's about the game, basketball. Tell you what I'm going to do right here. I am going to go ahead and take a break. And when I come back, I will have some more for you on the original. Let me put it out there like that. The original In the Zone with Anthony. Before you heard In the Zone on the radio, In the Zone was already on a podcast. Yours truly, Anthony Smith. I will be right back, so don't you dare go nowhere. to In the Zone with just truly Anthony Smith. We got scores to get to you. We got power rankings to get to you. We got so much to get to you. Hope you enjoyed that first segment. I know I'm going to get some backlash. Some things just have to be set in order. And people just have to realize that sometimes your comments can be very overbearing beyond the game of what it is that you're talking about. My feeling is this: anytime you make it about race, you're overstepping some boundaries. Some of the comments I've seen in some of these chat rooms, if people were face to face, you would have to call the National Guardian to break it up, because it would be a total all-out riot. Seriously. If it is true and that if one player is receiving hate mail and death threats, then legally you need to be dealt with. Anyway, I want to take a look at some college football scores, week number 4. And I'm going to get to you as many as can. I'm going to even let you know if the team even covered the spread or not. I'm going to give that to you. So we're starting off with Wyoming against North Texas. North Texas won that game 44-17. UNT covered the -7 and the over of 55.5. A team that has been gathering up a lot of traction because there's talk that they may want to join the Big 12. Some people scoff at that and say, well, the football program sucks. Well, Florida Atlantic, which is a member of the Big 12, is now looking at a 1-3 record because they got it handed to them by Connecticut by the score of 48-14. UConn covered the -1, and the over was 45.5, so that was covered. UConn now sits at 2-2. FAU 1-3. Troy picked up their first victory, knocking off Florida A&M Rattlers, who are now 2-2 by the score of 34-12. Troy covered the -21.5 and the under of 49.5. Sitting at 3-1, SMU knocks off now 2-2 TCU by the score of 66-42. SMU covered the plus 1.5 and the over of 58.5. Number 20, Iowa State, undefeated at 3-0, knocks off Arkansas State by the score of 52-7. ISU covered the 20.5 spread and the over of 51.5. Cincinnati and Houston. Cincinnati is sitting now 3-1, looking pretty good in the Big 12 right there. Knocks off Houston by the score of 34-0. The point spread was -3.5. The under was 47.5, so they covered both of those. Hawaii 2-2 knocks off Northern Iowa 2-2, 36-7. Hawaii covered the -10, the under 46.5. Number 22, BYU, undefeated. Could they be a player in the Big 12? Based on their resounding victory over now 3-1 Kansas State, ranked 23, by the score of 38-9, BYU covered at 7.5. The under was 49.5. So it looks like BYU came to play. Number 25, Boise State, 2-1, knocks off Portland State 0-3, 56-14. Portland State covered the 42.5, the over 69.5. And that cover on Portland State is the plus 42.5. So they covered the spread. Oregon State 3-1 against Purdue 1-2. Oregon State wins the game 38-21. Oregon State covered the -2.5 and the over of 50.5. Fresno State Bulldogs knocked off a winless New Mexico team by a score of 38-21. Fresno covered the minus 12.5 and the under 60.5. Number one, Texas had no problem boat racing Louisiana Monroe now 2-1 by the score of 51-3. Texas covered the minus 43.5 and the over 53.5. Boston College hands Michigan State its first loss. Both teams are now 3-1. However, MSU, the score was 23-19. However, MSU covered the plus 4.5 and the under 46.5. Colorado 3-1 knocks off Baylor 2-2 by the score of 38-31. Colorado covered the minus 2.5 and the over 52.5. Number 5, Mississippi manhandles 2-2 Georgia Southern 52-13. Mississippi covered the 35.5 and the under 68.5. Number 6, Tennessee remains undefeated at 4-0 as they knocked off number 15 Oklahoma, now 3-1 at 25, beat them 25-15. Tennessee covered the minus 5.5 and the under 56.5. Texas A&M, now 3-1, ranked number 25, held on to knock off 1-2 Bowling Green. Bowling Green covered the plus 20.5 and the under 50.5. Iowa bounced back after last week's loss, beating now 2-2 Minnesota by the score of 31-14. Iowa covered the minus 2.5 and the over 35. (3-1) South Carolina boat races Akron 1-3 by the score of 50-7. SC covered the minus 24.5 and the over 41.5. Number 8, Miami at 4-0 cruises past South Florida 2-2 by the score of 50-15. Miami covered the minus 17 and the over 64.5. Florida State finally got them a victory. Not only did they get them a victory, but they also covered the spread as 1-3 Florida State hands California 3-1 their first loss in a very low-scoring affair. 14-9 FSU covered the minus 3 and the under 44.5. Tulsa 2-2 knocks off Louisiana Tech 1-2 by the score of 23-20. Tulsa covered the plus 3 and the under 56.5. Washington 3-1 knocks off Northwestern 2-2 by the score of 24-5. UW covered the 11.5 and the under 42.5. Sam Houston State, man, I can tell you right now, it is not a good time to be in the state of New Mexico, the land of entrapment. They've had a very bad football weekend. As Sam Houston State 3-1 knocks off New Mexico State 1-3 by the score of 31-11. Sam Houston State covered the minus 15.5 and the under 44.5. Western Kentucky 3-1 knocks off Toledo 3-1 by the score of 26-21. Western Kentucky covered the plus 1.5 and the under 60.5. And now I'm just going to give you scores here as Liberty remains unbeaten, knocking off East Carolina by the score of 35-24. Monmouth knocks off Florida International by the score of 45-42. Colorado State evens their record at 2-2, knocking off a winless UTEP by a score of 27-17. And CSU covered the minus 9. Missouri, number 7 ranked Missouri, 4-0, knocks off Vanderbilt 2-2 by the score of 30-27. Utah 4-0 team predicted to win the Big 12 in their first year. Knocks off number 14 ranked Oklahoma State by the score of 22-19. Utah covered the +1 under 53.5. Duke remains undefeated as they knock off Middle Tennessee by the score of 45-17, covering the -14.5 and the over 51.5. Number 10, Penn State remains undefeated as Kent State still has yet to win a game, losing to Penn State by the score of 56-0. Penn State covered the -48.5 and under 57.5. The big game that had everybody talking, number 18 Michigan, 3-1, hands USC, number 11, their first loss by the score of 27-24. Michigan covered the +4.5 and the over 44. Number 16 LSU, 3-1 now, knocks off UCLA by the score of 34-17. UCLA covered the +21.5. Notre Dame, after a slow start, and I'm pretty sure Coach Freeman lit into his troops at halftime, came out in the second half, rolled past Miami of Ohio by the score of 28-3. Miami of Ohio, however, covered the +27.5 and the under 43.5. Number 19, Louisville remains undefeated, knocking off Georgia Tech by the score of 31-19. Louisville covered the -8.5. In a game that would have to be considered an upset, Buffalo 3-1 knocks off Northern Illinois, the same team that beat Notre Dame, came in ranked 23, beat them 23-20. Buffalo covered the +12.5, the over 42.5. Pittsburgh is still rolling along as they just boat raced Youngstown State by the score of 73-17. Pitt more than covered the 27.5 and the over 59.5. And that right there is where I'm going to conclude. There is a whole lot more, but I'm going to conclude it right there, because I want to take a look at some other things. So don't you dare go nowhere, because I will be right back in a few. Got to give my sponsors time. You're listening to In the Zone with yours truly, Anthony Smith. Don't go nowhere. Stay locked in the zone. Podcast in the state. So we tend to cover topics as WNBA, college football scores. We can take a look at the NFL. And right now, what we're about to do here, we're about to take a look at the power rankings and how they are shaping up. Because if there is one takeaway from the first 3 weeks of the 2024 NFL season, it's that the mantra on any given Sunday could not be more true. How about Sam Darnold and the juggernaut Minnesota Vikings continue to roll? Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints offense was served a slice of humble pie, while two Super Bowl hopefuls were at the center of the epic comeback attempts. Here's where the 49ers and the rest of the league stand entering the Monday night doubleheader. Number 32, Tennessee Titans. Last week they were 29, record 0-3. Back-breaking Will Levis turnovers. Drink. Ugly showing from the Tony Pollard, Tyjae Spears tandem. Gross offense is being played in the Music City. Number 31, Carolina Panthers. Last week, 32. They moved up. Record now, 1-2. The Andy Dalton era is here, and it's beautiful. Well, by comparison, anything is. Number 30, New England Patriots. Last week, 28. Record 1-2. Whoever plays quarterback behind this offensive line is getting demolished week in and week out. An ineffective Ramondre Stevenson leaves you with next to nothing offensively. Number 29, Denver Broncos. Last week, 31. Record 1-2. Bo Nix. I was not familiar with your game. Good all-around showing for Denver. Let's see if they can build on it. Number 28, New York Giants. Last week, number 30. Record 1-2. Occasionally, there is a good Daniel Jones game. This was one of them. Malik Neighbors continues to be awesome. Number 27, Las Vegas Raiders. Last week, 26. Dalton is a big upgrade over Bryce Young, but it's still the Panthers. Really. Only the Raiders would get embarrassed by Carolina after an impressive win over the Ravens last week. Number 26, Washington Commanders. Last week, 27. Rookie Jaden Daniels has been impressive thus far and has a decent supporting cast around him. This is a rebuilding team heading in the right direction, but they have a big test this week and a Bengals team with something to prove. Number 25, Jacksonville. Last week, 25. Record 0-2. Trevor Lawrence is battling the fraud allegations, particularly from yours truly. How will he respond against the mighty Bills on Monday Night Football? Have to tune in and see. Number 24, Chicago Bears. Last week, 23. Record 1-2. There would be less pressure on Caleb Williams if the Bears had a running game, but he seems to be getting more comfortable each week. Still, far too many costly mistakes. Well, you have to expect that when you have him throwing the ball up 50, 52 times. Expect some mistakes to happen in the form of what's called interception. Number 23, Indianapolis Colts. Last week, 24. Record 1-2. Anthony Richardson is a loose cannon and is going to cost Indy games. Fortunately for him, the young quarterback on the other side of the field was a bigger liability. Just run the ball 40-plus times a game. Seriously. Number 22, Miami Dolphins. Last week, 19. Record 1-2. Their third-string quarterback was thrown into the mix, so they're probably going to be in free fall for a few weeks. Number 21, Arizona Cardinals. Last week, 20. Record 1-2. Your offense cannot be predicated on just taking deep shots to Marvin Harrison. If James Conner isn't right, then it's going to be a long day for Kyler Murray. Number 20, Los Angeles Rams. Last week, 22. Record 1-2. A heroic effort from a Rams squad decimated by injuries. They had a few big breaks late in the game, but credit where credit is due. They showed major heart. Number 19, Los Angeles Chargers. Last week, number 21, record 2-1. Why was Justin Herbert playing in this game in the first place? The offense really is just a collection of dudes, not in a good way. Number 18, Cleveland Browns. Last week, 15, record 1-2. This might be the worst team that should be good in the history of the NFL. Hashtag free Jameis. Number 17, Cincinnati Bengals. Last week, 11. Record 0-2. They have a history of starting slow, but losing to the Commanders and falling to 0-3 would be alarming. There is no must-win games in Week 3, but this comes close. Number 16, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Last week, number 9. Record 2-1. I did not see this coming. Talk about crashing down to earth for Baker Mayfield and company. Back down to the middle tier you go. And at 15, Atlanta Falcons. Last week, 17. Record 1-2. They're not quite there yet, but I just can't quit the Falcons. They went toe-to-toe with the Chiefs, and they've shown signs. One of these weeks, they will prove me right for 4 quarters. Green Bay Packers. Last week at 14. This week also at 14. Record 2-1. Malik Willis, revenge game. He did his job in place of Jordan Love. Who should return next week? All will be good soon in Green Bay. Number 13. Seattle Seahawks. Last week 18. Record 3-0. Their first 3 games of the season. Broncos, Patriots, and a matchup against the Dolphins. Second and third string quarterbacks. Talk to me when they beat a serious team. However, 3-0 is 3-0. So I'll give them a sliver of respect. Number 12, Dallas Cowboys. Last week 7. Record 1-2. The run game is atrocious, and so is their run defense. Dak Prescott nearly completed the comeback with his arm alone, and that's not a recipe for success. There are serious concerns to address in Big D. And trust me, some of it is on the defensive side of the ball. All you naysayers out there, all you haters out there, have I called out Dak on some of his mistakes? Yes, I have. But on this one, and I know some of you keyboard warriors, y'all are just used to the norm. Y'all are just used to just piling on Dak, even when he doesn't deserve it. This one is not on Dak. So to all of those of you who are in the Dak Prescott versus Tony Romo chat room, wake up to reality and realize this was on the defense. When you look at his stat lines, 300 plus yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. Did y'all hear that part? No turnovers. I want to make sure y'all heard that part. In other words, he didn't come up with one of those costly turnovers that cost him the game. He literally put this team on his back and almost completed the comeback. Coming in at number 11. Last week they were number 10. The New York Jets, 2-1. Aaron Rodgers looked fantastic and spread the ball around well to all of his playmakers. Breece Hall and Braylon Allen make one hell of a backfield. Imagine this offense once Rodgers and Garrett Wilson get on the same page. Number 10, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last week, 13. They moving up like the Jeffersons. Record 3-0. Justin Fields has done an admirable job in place of Russell Wilson, who shouldn't be guaranteed the starting job whenever he returns. Regardless of who is under center, the defense will carry them. Number 9, the New Orleans Saints. Last week, 12. Record 2-1. I wasn't as bullish on them as others last week, but it's clear they're for real. Even in a tough loss, Derek Carr looked more like the Derek Carr we expected this season. But Alvin Kamara clearly has turned back the clock. Number 8, San Francisco 49ers. Last week they were number 3. Record 1-2. It doesn't matter that there was no Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, or George Kittle. This was a completely inexcusable collapse, a meltdown of epic proportions. Shame on everyone involved not named Brock Purdy and Jawan Jennings. Number 7, Baltimore Ravens. Last week, number 6. Record 1-2. An impressive bounce back, but it nearly slipped through their fingers. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry did what they did best. My suspicions about their defense, though, are proving to be correct. Number 6, Buffalo Bills. Last week, number 8. They too, just like the Jeffersons, moving on up. Record 2-0. The offense continues to gel despite Josh Allen having a less than impressive supporting cast through the air. Will they be able to run the ball as well as they have against a stout Jags D-line? Number 5. Are you ready for this? Number 5. With a record of 3-0. You talk about a big jump up. Last week they were 16. This week they're number 5. The Purple People Eaters, the Minnesota Vikings, and their candidate for MVP award, Sam Darnold. All right, y'all laugh at that now, but it could be a possibility if they keep this up. That defense is not good. It's elite. Sam Darnold continues to cook. I'm promoting them from frisky to wagon status. I probably just jinxed it, though. Number 4, Houston Texans. Last week, number 2. C.J. Stroud meet Brian Flores. It wasn't pretty, but it seems even the best offenses are struggling against the Vikings defense. Flush it and move on. Number 3, Detroit Lions. Last week, number 5. Record 2-1. There's something slightly off with this team right now, but they continue to get it done behind one of the league's best running back tandems. An impressive showing from the defense, too. Number 2, Philadelphia Eagles. Last week, number 4. Record 2-1. Nick Sirianni is beyond frustrating as a coach. The 2023 second half Eagles reared their ugly heads for most of the game before Saquon Barkley and Dallas Goedert powered them to victory. And number 1. Who is number 1? That will be the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh, where were they ranked last week? Still number 1. Record 3-0. Carson Steele stepped in for the injured Isaiah Pacheco and was serviceable. Rashee Rice has supplanted Travis Kelce as Patrick Mahomes' new go-to target. The champs continue to roll. So there you have the power rankings of all 32 teams in the NFL and how it stacks up. Now, you may have a different view on that. By all means, hey, it's yours. But right now, this is the power ranking of all 32 teams from the last to the first. All right here on In the Zone with yours truly, Anthony. The original In the Zone. Like I said, before there was a radio show called In the Zone, this podcast was already in the zone. Anyway, that is going to wrap things up for me. I hope that you were entertained today. As I enjoy doing what I'm doing, I want to send some shout outs to some of my boys out there. James Goodwin, supporter of the show. Also, my man Ed Nunez. I know he's the voice of Western New Mexico, but he also kind of chimes in with Lobo Nation, I do believe. So I know he's really feeling entrapped out there in the land of enchantment, aka the land of entrapment as well too. And to those of you who take the time out to listen to this podcast, I want to say I appreciate you for making it what it is. Continue to listen, continue to share. Also, if you feel the urge to, you can hit that support button for a small support fee of $4.99 a month to keep this good content rolling in. But until the next time, you take care of yourself and each other. This is yours truly, Anthony.